Lila had always been an independent woman. At 52, she had never married or had children, instead focusing on her career as a college professor and managing the rental property her parents had left her. The large Victorian house had been converted into student apartments years ago, and Lila lived in a separate unit on the top floor. Running the rental mostly consumed Lila's time outside of teaching. She handled maintenance, collected rent, and vetted potential new tenants herself. Lila had strict criteria. She only rented to serious students who could prove their enrollment and ability to pay. Parties and overnight guests were prohibited. Most of her tenants came and went without Lila getting to know them well. She preferred to keep things businesslike and professional. That is, until Aiden moved in at the beginning of fall semester. From their very first meeting, the handsome 25-year-old graduate student made an impression on Lila. He had a warm smile and impeccable manners, thanking her profusely for the opportunity to rent one of her coveted apartments close to campus. "I promise I'll be a model tenant, Miss Peterson," Aiden said sincerely as he signed the lease. "I'm so grateful for this lovely place to live while I complete my master's degree." Over the next few weeks, Lila found herself running into Aiden frequently as he settled in the shared laundry room, while she tended the small garden out back, coming and going to classes. He always greeted her cheerfully, and they fell into easy conversation. Lila learned that Aiden was studying environmental science and hoped to work on sustainability initiatives after graduation. He was passionate about making a difference. Despite her best intentions, Lila felt a spark of attraction taking hold. Aiden was so refreshingly genuine and kind. Handsome too, with intense green eyes and an athletic build. His youthful energy and optimism were invigorating. Lila mentally chastised herself for entertaining such thoughts about a tenant nearly half her age. It was completely inappropriate. She was his landlady, nothing more. But Aiden seemed to go out of his way to engage with Lila, asking her advice about his coursework and chatting about the latest sustainability news. He started bringing her cups of coffee in the morning, saying he had made too much and hated to see it go to waste. Their fingers brushed as she took the steaming mugs, electricity zinging through her. One crisp October afternoon, Aiden knocked on Lila's door holding a large pumpkin, an anxious look on his face. "Miss Peterson, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I think I messed up. I was trying to carve this jack-o'-lantern for the porch and cut my hand pretty badly. I can't get the bleeding to stop." Lila ushered him inside, sitting him down at the kitchen table. She gathered the first aid supplies and began cleaning and bandaging the deep gash on his palm, Aiden wincing in pain. "You'll likely need stitches," she told him with concern. "Wait here, I'll drive you to urgent care." At the clinic, they waited together for hours to be seen. Lila felt protective of Aiden as he grew pale from blood loss, his head drooping against her shoulder. She resisted the urge to smooth his hair back soothingly. The doctor stitched up Aiden's hand, prescribing antibiotics and pain meds. Lila filled the prescriptions and drove an exhausted Aiden home. Over the next few days, Lila found herself knocking on Aiden's door to check on him. She brought over meals and insisted on changing his bandages. Late one evening, as Lila unwrapped the gauze, Aiden placed his uninjured hand over hers. "I can't thank you enough for taking such good care of me," he said, an intense look in his eye. Lila's heart hammered in her chest. "It's nothing," she said quickly, flustered. "Just doing my job as your landlady." Aiden's brow furrowed. "Is that really all this is? All we are? Because I felt something these past few days with you. A connection. Tell me I'm not imagining it." Lila swallowed hard, wanting so badly to lean into his touch, to confess the depth of her growing feelings. It would be so easy to let herself fall. But she couldn't. The power imbalance of their situation made anything more than a landlord-tenant relationship unethical. She would be taking advantage of him. With supreme effort, Lila extracted her hand and stood up. "You're not imagining it," she said heavily. "I've felt it too. But Aiden, I'm your landlady, not to mention nearly 30 years your senior. Anything beyond friendship would be completely inappropriate. I'm sorry if I gave you the wrong impression." Aiden jumped to his feet, words tumbling out in a rush. "I don't care about our age difference, and I know you're my landlady, but I also know what I feel for you is real. You're brilliant and passionate and beautiful. You captivate me. I haven't been able to stop thinking about you." Lila's resolve began to crumble as Aiden stepped closer, cupping her cheek tenderly, eyes pleading. She wanted him with every fiber of her being. Maybe the connection between them was strong enough to overcome the obstacles. Maybe they could find a way to make this work. But reality crashed in, and Lila stepped back abruptly, hugging her arms around herself. "No, Aiden, we can't. It's not right. You're young, with your whole life ahead of you. You'll move on after graduation and forget all about me. But I could lose everything. My integrity, my business, my standing at the university. I'm sorry, but I won't risk it. Not even for you." Tears welled in Aiden's eyes, but he nodded in acceptance. "I could never forget you, Lila, but I understand. I don't want to jeopardize your life. Just know that my feelings for you are real. If things were different—" "But they're not," Lila said firmly, even as her voice quavered with emotion. "I think it's best if we keep our distance from now on. Focus on your studies and your future. Find a nice girl your own age." "There's no one like you," Aiden whispered brokenly. But he obliged Lila's wishes and retreated to his apartment. In the days and weeks that followed, a pall of sadness blanketed the house. Aiden stopped coming around, throwing himself into his coursework. Lila went about her duties with a heavy heart. The joy leached out of her days. She knew she'd done the right thing, the only ethical option, but it didn't ease the ache inside her. Fall faded into winter. Campus emptied for the long holiday break. Lila sat in her quiet apartment on Christmas Eve, staring into the flickering fireplace. A hesitant knock sounded at the door. Perplexed as to who could be calling so late, Lila opened it to find Aiden standing on her doorstep, snowflakes swirling around him. "I didn't mean to disturb you," he said shyly, "but I couldn't let Christmas pass without at least giving you this." He held out a small, neatly wrapped gift box. "Aiden, that's very kind, but I can't accept—" He cut her off gently. "Please, just open it. Merry Christmas, Lila." With that, he turned and walked away into the snowy night. Lila watched him go, then closed the door and sat down heavily. With trembling fingers, she untied the ribbon and opened the box. Inside was a beautiful leather-bound journal, an antique fountain pen nestled alongside it. The first page contained a handwritten note. "My dearest Lila, enclosed, please find the journal I've been keeping for the past 3 months, ever since the day of the fateful pumpkin carving incident. In it, you'll find the deepest outpourings of my heart. I know our circumstances make a relationship impossible right now, but I wanted you to know the full depth and truth of my feelings. Perhaps someday, if fortune smiles on us, the stars will align and the timing will be right. I will wait for you as long as it takes. You're more than worth it. Until then, I hope you'll keep my words close to your heart, as I hold you in mine. Merry Christmas. May the new year bring you every happiness. All my love, Aiden." By the final line, Lila was sobbing, holding the journal to her chest. She read Aiden's words voraciously, soaking in the love and longing he poured out on every page. As dawn broke on Christmas morning, Lila closed the journal, emotionally wrung out. She knew she'd cherish his gift always. But she also knew she'd done right by Aiden, hard as it had been. He deserved to spread his wings and fly free for now, to fulfill his vast potential unencumbered. Maybe, someday in the future, fate would bring them together again under different circumstances, when a relationship wouldn't mean risking her career and reputation, when their love could flourish without constraints or guilt. Lila tucked the journal away in her keepsake box to sustain her until then. She had to believe that if this connection between them was as real and powerful as it seemed, it would endure. True love was patient. True love was worth waiting for. Aiden would always be worth waiting for. With that thought warming her heart, Lila faced the new year ahead. She would throw herself into her work, her students, improving life for her tenants, and the other passions that sustained her. Someday, her someday with Aiden might come. But until then, she would live her life to the fullest, and always carry the sweetness of their love with her, untarnished and undiminished. As the new year began, Lila threw herself into her work with renewed vigor. She poured her energy into her students, investing deeply in their growth and success. She tackled long-deferred maintenance projects at the rental property, wanting to make it the best possible home for her tenants. In quiet moments, she reread Aiden's journal, drawing strength and comfort from his heartfelt words. Aiden returned to campus at the end of the holiday break, and he and Lila fell into a new normal. They maintained a polite, friendly distance, exchanging pleasantries in passing, but carefully avoiding the charged intimacy of before. It was painful, the ache of missing each other a constant presence, but they both knew it was necessary. Lila watched from afar as Aiden flourished, earning top marks in his classes and securing a prestigious sustainability internship for the summer. Pride mingled with longing every time she saw him, but she knew she'd made the right choice in letting him go. He was thriving without the burden of an illicit relationship with her holding him back. As spring arrived and Aiden's graduation approached, Lila wrestled with fresh inner turmoil. She desperately wanted to share in his special day, to celebrate his accomplishments and cheer him on as he walked across the stage to accept his hard-earned master's degree. But she worried her presence would only resurface painful feelings and disrupt their delicate equilibrium. In the end, Lila compromised by slipping a card into Aiden's mailbox on graduation morning. "Dear Aiden," it read, "congratulations on this incredible achievement. I am so very proud of the outstanding man and scholar you've become. The future is yours for the taking. I know you will move mountains, wishing you every happiness and success always. Lila." She watched the commencement via live stream, tears trickling down her face as Aiden walked across the stage, shaking the dean's hand and accepting his diploma. He was magnificent, and her heart nearly burst with love and pride. The next day, a bouquet of sunflowers, her favorite, appeared on Lila's doorstep with a note. "Thank you for everything. I couldn't have done it without your support and belief in me. 1,000 times, thank you." Lila pressed one of the bright blooms in her journal that night, a bittersweet token of what might have been. Soon after, Aiden moved out of the rental house, preparing to start his new sustainability job in another city. As Lila did a final inspection of his empty apartment, a strange mix of grief and gratitude filled her. Aiden had entered her life like a whirlwind, awakening parts of her long dormant. Loving him, even from afar, had expanded her heart and enriched her spirit. She would never regret their time together, even with the pain of parting. Life marched on. Lila filled Aiden's room with a new tenant and focused on being the best professor and landlady she could be. She visited her sister and doted on her little nieces, relishing her role as their favorite aunt. She traveled some, exploring new cities and natural wonders. She even started volunteering at a local environmental nonprofit in her spare time, finding deep fulfillment in protecting the earth Aiden had worked so hard to sustain. 4 years passed in this way, full and meaningful, the edges of heartache softened by time and purpose. Then, one crisp fall afternoon, Lila returned home from campus to a registered letter waiting in her mailbox. Curious, she opened it to find an embossed invitation. The keynote speaker at this year's National Sustainability Conference will be Dr. Aiden James Hartwell. By special request, Miss Lila Peterson is cordially invited to attend as an honored guest. Lila sank into a chair as the realization hit. Aiden had earned his PhD and risen to great success and prominence in his field. Pride surged through her, followed by stunned wonder that he wanted her there, that he hadn't forgotten her after all this time. She quickly sent back her RSVP, hardly daring to hope what this invitation might mean. The day of the conference, she entered the grand lecture hall with nervous anticipation fluttering in her stomach. Aiden was absolutely riveting on stage, speaking with passion, conviction, and hard-earned authority on the innovations that would usher in a more sustainable future. He had truly become a leader in the field. As he concluded to a standing ovation, his eyes found Lila's in the crowd. The same jolt of connection, undiminished by time and distance, sparked between them. He nodded to her, a silent request to stay after. Lila waited as the lecture hall emptied, a lump in her throat. When they were alone, Aiden crossed to her, his eyes shining. "Lila, you came." "Of course I did," she managed. "I'm so proud of you, Aiden. You've accomplished remarkable things." He shook his head. "Nothing compared to you. You're still my guiding star, my true north." He took a deep breath. "Lila, I've done exactly what you told me to do. I've focused on my studies and career, fulfilled my potential. I'm an established professional now, my own man. And you're no longer my landlady." Lila's pulse raced as she realized what he was saying. The obstacles that had separated them before had finally dissolved. Aiden took her hands in his thumbs caressing her knuckles lovingly. "I know it's been years. I know I'm asking for the impossible. But time hasn't changed what I feel for you. One word from you, and I'm yours, body and soul. I love you, Lila. I always have, and I always will. Please tell me there's still a chance for us." Tears slid down Lila's cheeks as she reached up to cradle Aiden's face. "Oh, my darling, my love. I've never stopped holding you in my heart. Yes, 1,000 times yes. I love you too, more than I ever dreamed possible." Aiden let out a whoosh of breath, his smile incandescent as he gathered her into his arms at last. No longer student and teacher, tenant and landlady, but equals, partners, soulmates. Their lips met in a kiss that held the promise of a lifetime. A kiss that sealed the love they'd so patiently waited for. A kiss that was the beginning of their happily ever after. Hand in hand, they walked out of the lecture hall and into their glorious future together, the trials of the past only making their ultimate union all the sweeter. And Lila finally understood. True love, once found, never dies. It endures, it hopes, it remains. True love is always, always worth the wait.